Hi, my name is James, and I'm a grateful recovering addict and alcoholic. In the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, it is suggested that you call an alcoholic every day and ask how they're doing. Today, we're privileged to have a guest on. His name is Brandon, and in moments after you guys join us, we're going to call him live and get some experience, strength, and hope. And we will experience firsthand what it's like to pick up that 1,000-pound phone, as they call it, just to hear another person in recovery. There are many benefits that come along with this. One is damn near 100 years ago when Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob spoke, and Ebby and Dr. Bob spoke, they realized that the spiritual malady of alcoholism can be treated with a series of steps that would later become the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, but also connection with another alcoholic. It is said that only an alcoholic can treat another alcoholic, and so it goes with addicts as well. What's up, John Venturini? Half a ton phone, but the phone call is worth exponentially more. You can say that again, buddy. We're going to call him in just a second. How you been, JV? I find it hard to call, especially in the times now of texting and even not texting. I mean, let's face it, calling is a thing of the past, but is it? And what's the reason that calling is better than texting? Well, sometimes we text. How you doing, Adam the Messiah? Hello, Cats for Life. How's everybody doing? If you're anything like me, you've had a complex day, and maybe you need to hear the experience of another alcoholic. Well, we are going to call a personal friend of mine, someone who I respect a great deal. I met him in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. He is choosing to release his anonymity, as one does, as the principle is, I can say that I'm an alcoholic, but I can't say that you're an alcoholic. But he already said I could say it, so. But with further ado, let's give him a call. I've known Brandon now for, well, 5 months, 6 months. I'm going on my 6th month of sobriety from everything, mind altering. But enough about me. Let's call another alcoholic in recovery. Hey, JV, do me a favor and check my sound. Make sure I'm not blasting your eardrums out.
What's up, James?
Hey, Brandon, how's it going? You are live on the Sober James Recovery Podcast. We felt like we needed to call another person in recovery today. And, well, as was suggested, how are you doing, friend?
I'm doing pretty good. It's not too bad of a day. Glad to be here, man.
Right on. How has your day been?
It's been a full day. Can't complain.
Well, good. I have 6 viewers. Usually I get up to 20 or 30. We'd like to just maybe get to know you, and maybe your experience, strength, and hope can bring us to another. I had a weird day. My day was good. I worked out. Without talking about me too much, I worked out, but then took a nap, and I woke up and felt just, I don't know. Maybe you can relate. Would you like to
Oh, for
introduce
sure.
yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brandon. I'm an alcoholic. Um, yeah, but I know what you're talking about with the exercise thing. It seems like the days when I work out or just do positive things for myself, they tend to be better days. Something about the exercise kind of balances out my emotions throughout the day. I know it works for me, and I know it works for a few other people too.
Right. They say, well, not just they. It is written that exercise and diet are among the best antidepressants and anti-anxiety, especially exercise. Would you agree with that?
For sure, and diet, just this time being sober, I've been able to work on eating better, and I've realized that what I put in my body really has a big effect on me. I eat fairly healthy now, and just something as small as tonight, I went out to eat with my grandmother and my other half, and we had onion rings, which is something I usually don't, partake in as much. And I kind of just felt like crap for about an hour. Just putting something as small as that in my body that I'm not used to. It's a
Processed
lot
food.
better than, yeah, it's a lot better than like putting poison in my body all the time. But I guess with the alcohol and drugs and whatnot gone, I'm able to kind of see more clearly how everything outside of me affects me.
Right on. I can
So
relate to that.
the cool part of the journey. I guess being intoxicated, it's hard to tell what you're doing, or how what you're doing affects you. And it's just one of those cool things, you get to learn in the process of recovery. Um, yeah.
Right on. How long have you been sober now, Brandon?
Well, I have been sober for over 2 years now, but I've been trying to get sober for many, many years. I'd say a good 6 years of coming to meetings and getting a little bit of sobriety, then going back out, and just doing that endless cycle over and over and over until finally just got exhausted of, picking myself back up and putting my life back together. And I finally became willing to, try a lot of the suggestions, more and more and more of them over time. That, old timers are just people anyone in the meetings give you, and the more I tried, uh, the more it worked. It's like I collected knowledge over time, and those little pieces added up. And one day I just started to really understand how this whole thing works.
So you're
Um,
talking about Alcoholics Anonymous.
yeah,
Old timers
yeah, that's
being old timers being those that have come before us with a long-term sobriety, sometimes 20 years old, I've noticed. I mean, sometimes
definitely.
20 years of sobriety.
Yeah, and a lot of the times the suggestions seem silly, and I feel like I would feel like I was smart enough to understand the suggestions, therefore I didn't have to do a lot of these things. But I was just overcomplicating things. I've learned to keep things simple and just do the basic things, and it's part of like a path that you go on to kind of learn yourself and learn how to be sober.
So,
But yeah, the old timers definitely shed some good wisdom.
oh yeah, I've come to learn the same thing. You said 6 years you were trying. Did you go to Alcoholics Anonymous when you decided that you've had enough drinking?
You know what? I've had about, I'd say, 6 years, give or take, in practicing and trying Alcoholics Anonymous. But honestly, I've known I've had a problem with just chemicals and substances, drugs and alcohol. Since I was like a teenager, I struggled to control um, the amount I used and when I used at an early age. So I've been trying for over half of my life. I think once everything failed, every attempt that I made failed, I got desperate enough to try
Mm.
to go to a 12-step meeting like AA or NA. Um, So yeah, that's just the only place that I've really been able to get some type of sobriety that I could hold on to. Like you were saying, com- I've been sober for consecutively over 2 years now, which is the longest I've ever gone in my life.
Well, good for you, man. I'm happy for you. I met you in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm glad I did. I have a lot of respect for you, brother. Uh,
Likewise.
so, did you? I'm not aware. Do you attend also NA, Narcotics Anonymous, or any of the other 12-step programs?
I've tried NA in the past, but just what works for me is AA. For some reason, I felt more comfortable in those rooms, but I wouldn't knock any 12-step program. There's all sorts of programs for overeaters or gamblers or all sorts of things. And, when I took the alcohol away, I find myself indulging more so in tons of food or becoming a shopaholic, or I can even over exercise. I can abuse anything that makes me feel good.
Oh yeah.
So I'd say all the 12-step meetings have, there's a lot of gold there, a lot to learn.
I've been to a couple NA. I've been to some Coda. I've been to a bunch in rehab and stuff. But I've always been drawn back to Alcoholics Anonymous. For me, alcohol was my drug of choice, but also I feel a lot of history and a lot of I don't know what the word is, but what are your reasons for mainly going to Alcoholics Anonymous?
Well, it's I've tried NA in the past, and something about it. Alcoholics Anonymous just seems a little bit brighter, in a way. I feel like, and this is all just my judgment, basically, but I feel like a lot of NA meetings come with a darker crowd and more people that kind of don't want to be there and are looking to potentially like sell drugs or find drugs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like I said, these are just my experiences with it.
Hmm.
But I didn't really feel very comfortable there. Um,
I
I
know
didn't
what you
trust
mean.
myself fully. I felt like I might be the one listening to people trying to figure out where the drugs are.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I felt the same way. I feel the
but
same
I'm
way.
sure it works for some people for sure. I mean, like I said, that's just my judgment.
To each their own.
Um,
And you said I'm cross addicted myself. We've had a lot of conversations, but for the viewers' sake, basically, here's what you and I have talked about, but I talk about with my friends here on the channel as well. I'm having well right now. I woke up in a funk and decided to just I need a nicotine vape, so I went and got to the clearance rack at the nicotine uh, store, and this seems like a constant struggle for me. Now, personally, this is the best sobriety I've had since I've worked the third step with God and stuff. Do you find yourself struggling with, I don't know, creature comforts that involve things like nicotine or maybe just sloth and stuff like that still?
yeah, I do find myself gravitating towards things like that still that aren't necessarily going to impair my mind as much. But even, nicotine, it doesn't make me feel good. I can drink too much coffee to where I feel jittery and anxious. And I will also overeat just because I'm used to being miserable. That has been my comfort zone for so long, like drinking until I get nauseous or sick or black out or whatnot. I do the same with all sorts of other substances. Um, it's like food for me has been a hard one. I'll smash a whole bunch of sugar in a heartbeat, then regret it 5 minutes later, and then just have to deal with the sugar hangover.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
the same way with that. I'm just now realizing how bad sugar is. John Venturini wants to know how much caffeine would you drink?
Honestly, every day I usually drink about 2 cups in the morning, but if I go beyond that, that's when I start to reap negative effects. I get really anxious. I crash. You know, it's not comparable to like crashing off of cocaine or meth or some type of upper, but it's not far from it either. I don't feel good. I feel my heart starts beating too hard. I get really anxious. I get jittery. It's not good for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I had to cut back, and a cup for me is literally a mug. It's like 3 cups. So
Yeah.
I found myself drinking like 40 ounces of coffee before noon. It's a testament to when you remove one, there's still a hole that needs to be filled. And I think that for me, that's where AA comes in. That's the importance of attending meetings regularly.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's hard for me to not try to fill that hole with external influences. You know, I try to rearrange things on the outside to make me happy because I'm not used to going within and trying to change myself from the inside out. But I think in time, these meetings will help to conquer all of those demons. I just know without the mind altering substances, it's more possible for me. And over time, I've seen progress slowly but steadily.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day, they say to get sober, you need to stop drinking first. I mean, this is one of those things that people say that you're just like, well, duh, but it actually has like more meaning. I was thinking into it. It's a disease of the mind, and alcohol just messes up the mind. I mean, we make choices. We just don't even think when we're on alcohol. Even, non-alcoholic people uh, are altered. And it makes a lot of sense to me that you can only begin to grasp the concepts of the 12 step programs if you are willing to first put down your drug of choice.
Yeah, I would agree. That makes sense.
Gail says she finds herself turning to chocolate and cookies since she quit drinking. Right at the beginning of quitting drinking, maybe you've heard the same. It's kind of a hack. It's kind of a trick to load up on sugary treats because alcoholic beverages have a lot of sugar, and that's one of the things that
Yeah,
you'll be withdrawing from.
definitely. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Whatever can help you get away from the hard stuff. I mean, when I quit drinking, I still resorted to marijuana gummies for months. Um, but that helps me get away from the harder stuff. And eventually I was able to take the marijuana out as well. But yeah, sugar. I mean, whatever does the trick, and gives your mind some time to heal.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know the same thing, but a lot of things we know, if you're like me, you'll just ignore it and think you're special, and I'll just quit everything at once. And these days, like,
yeah,
and it's bad. I mean, those who came before us told us this, but I'm still like, well, I'm special. I'm gonna try it, and I'll crash, man. It happens. It happens, and they say quit what's killing you first, which I guess I can understand why a lot of people in the meetings still smoke cigarettes, and good
yeah.
on them. Booze, drugs, these things are hard to quit. You might as well, let yourself have a brownie, or
Yeah,
uh,
right.
now we've had similar experiences with cannabis. My viewers have seen my entire journey, but just to refresh anyone that's new, I did try cannabis in my fourth year of sobriety, and smoked it for 2 years. And I have found here in my newfound sobriety with God in my life and with the 12 steps and just just a sobriety I've never had before. I have, I guess, become more honest with myself and said, you know what? I don't like myself with cannabis in my life because I treat it like I treat it alcoholically. I smoke weed like alcoholically.
Yeah, same.
You know that, and so you had to give it up too, huh?
Yeah, I did, but it did help me get away from the harder stuff. I've tried to give up everything all at once so many times, and it didn't work. I'm not saying that someone can't do it, everyone's different, but for me, taking away everything at once was wildly uncomfortable, and it was too much for me it was too drastic. And I just, eventually always kept going back, fairly quickly. So I think what helped me was getting rid of the worst thing first, then let a little time go by and get rid of the next worst thing and the next worst thing. And now all I'm trying to get rid of is, sugar, caffeine, like nicotine, things that aren't really that bad. Those are my problems today,
Right.
but they're a whole lot better than it used to be.
They're seemingly not that bad, but man, are they just beasts to give up. Nicotine has been in and out of my life in one way or another. Just even after I quit, months after I quit, I'll have a big meal and I'll just be like, man, can I get a cigarette, total stranger? You know what I mean?
Oh, I know it.
And
I was watching a movie last night and they were smoking a lot of cigarettes and it really sounded good. Just watching people enjoy things like that. I was craving one.
yeah, I think I read something on cigarettes on TV when they light it up and they smoke it. I think back when they were advertising cigarettes, they had people smoke in a certain way that was appealing, and it still works
Yeah,
today.
glamorous.
Yeah, and it still works today. Except when you do it in real life, it's like, oh my God, it stinks in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like nicotine stinks. So, Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a program of attraction, not promotion, and there's a lot of. I made this channel a while ago, and I'm really getting into the 12 steps of everything because, well, I think we've talked about it before, but what the most important thing that's happened to me this time around is I haven't been trusting my own will, my own thoughts, my own opinions that much. So, for me to say that
Right.
I don't think uh, AA has, well, the thing with me is in movies and in comedy and in media, there is a way that I personally suspect Big Alcohol got behind this, but there's a lot of I guess slant against AA and they make jokes and stuff. But then we don't have any representatives actually out there saying what's good about it and stuff. Um, which is what which is what I try to do and still respect the program. As far as it goes for you, uh, do you uh, well, I don't want to get too personal, but
No worries.
do you tell people that you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that?
Yes, in this little stretch of sobriety that I have come to realize that just being honest and real with people will kind of save me. Um, where I was working, all my coworkers would start pouring wine glasses at lunchtime. And I knew that if I didn't let them know, you know, my issues and if I wasn't honest about everything, that I might one day, sneak a glass with them or something like that. So I kind of had to tell on myself, and it worked. It's helped. But also, I don't mind talking about this type of stuff. I don't hide it, but I don't just try to talk to everybody about it. You never know who's listening, and you never know who can benefit from a conversation you might have. You know, who's listening in the background or across the room or whatever. So if something I can say by being honest about myself would help somebody, then I'm all for it.
Exactly. And I do want to express my gratitude for you coming on tonight and sharing your experience. I That brings up a good point. Do you what can you articulate what helping other addicts and alcoholics does for an addict or alcoholic in recovery for yourself?
Um, well, helping somebody else out, picking up a phone and calling someone and asking them, how it's going, or, listening to someone else's problems, it starts to take away energy from my problems. Me focusing on somebody else gets me out of my head because when I'm in my head, that's when I start coming up with all sorts of problems.
Mm.
I can create a problem out of nothing if I have too much idle time or just too much time in my own mind. Um, so yeah, helping others out really helps me in the long run. And something my sponsor told me is that when you start helping others by sponsoring them, um, it's about them, it helps them, but it's a whole journey that helps you to explore and get to know yourself. And every person you help, you'll get to know yourself more and more and more. Um, so it's kind of selfish in a way because you benefit from helping somebody, but it also does help somebody as well. It's crazy how it works.
Right, and I'm glad you said that because it rings a bell with me, which brings me to the point of the importance of calling another addict or alcoholic. When you say things like that, and I can relate to them after spending all this time out in the world where people don't understand why I'm restless or irritable and discontent. And then calling another alcoholic, it's instantly, it's, I mean, it's more than just being able to relate, and it's more than I'm not alone. I'm not sure how to say it, but it really helps. And it's no wonder why it's been suggested to us to call another alcoholic every day, they say. And especially if you can't make it to a meeting. It's one of those things you can't put your finger on, but it works wonders.
Definitely, I would agree. It took me years of failing before I was willing to pick up the phone. And I'd heard, in meetings time and time again that, if you're struggling or suffering in your mind, pick up a phone and ask someone how they're doing. But that's one of those things that I just didn't want to do. I wasn't social like that, If I were drunk, I could talk to you on the phone for hours. But sober, that's not my comfort zone.
Well, that's
And
another
it
thing
took me
that
a long
helped.
time.
That's another thing that helped too, because I'm the same way. And then I heard him call it the 1,000 pound phone and explain it's because it's so hard to pick up and call. And I'm like, every single other alcoholic feels this way. And that just, I don't know, it just helps for some reason to know that it wasn't just me going crazy in my own head. They're calling it a 1,000 pound phone. They got a name for what I thought I was just alone in, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. Um,
Um,
it's
O-Dog says,
it's
he said, damn, James, I was about to smoke a joint. I wanted to chat one day. He said, all my AA brothers are hardcore against weed and aren't accepting if I remain willing to quit. Now, this was
sounds like their
something,
problem.
what's that?
I mean, if somebody's got a problem with you, smoking weed, then it sounds like their problem. Like
Yeah.
I said, for me, that it helped get me away from alcohol to where I could have some type of control over my life.
The
So
other
it
th-
wasn't negative for me in the beginning.
the other thing I noticed was it was all in my head what I thought about. One of the reasons I stopped going to AA meetings was because I was smoking so much weed. And now that I'm not smoking weed and going to meetings, I realized that there might be, you know, there actually might be a reason that some groups say, let's just talk about alcohol and not speak about other things because, you know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
They're probably, I can't speak for anyone else, but it doesn't seem like there's that much of a resistance to that stuff. But there is one main thing that remains constant, and that is sober is sober. If the consequences of your, let's say, smoking weed is overpowering the benefits and affecting your life, or you're just doing it alcoholically. And I've heard old timers say about this about anything, relationships, watching TV, stuff like that. And I totally agree with that too. The only problem was I can't have weed in my life without smoking it alcoholically, and I have come to accept that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Um, but yeah, in the beginning, it wasn't negative because it got me away from the hard stuff. But eventually, it did start blocking me from being fully sober, and I wanted to take it out as well. Um, it's
I'm glad you
something
did,
neat.
man. Actually, talking to you on the disc golf course that one day, I was struggling with the decision of whether to put it down. And you know how we're going to complicate everything. Obviously, I should put it down, but I had to talk it out. And I appreciate that feedback, man, because addiction is isolating. I'm sure you can relate. And just talking to another person that has that experience, I found the strength to put it down, just to have that sounding board.
Heck yeah.
I appreciate that. Uh, ES says, I find texting is an easy way in before a lot of phone calls, and it increases the odds that they will actually pick up as an opposed to an unknown number. Yeah,
You know,
we go ahead.
when it comes to that 500 or 1,000 pound phone, that I did not want to do that. So what helped me was a bunch of guys in the meeting when I first started going again, would text. We all got in some text group chain, and I started texting people, and that really did help me, because I didn't want to talk on the phone. I didn't like it. It made me feel uncomfortable, and it is communicating. It worked, and it helped me eventually to begin to call people a lot easier. So texting is definitely a great way into that. But another cool thing about the phone, I contact people, and I've done it more so and more so over the past many months. And so I steadily have people that I'm either calling or they call me. And I know you said that you just woke up in a bad mood. And that reminded me, about 2 days ago, I woke up in an awful mood. I just decided it was going to be a shit day. I didn't see myself getting out of it. And because I've been communicating with so many people, somebody called me, and I decided to pick up the phone. And somehow, after I got off the phone with them, I realized I wasn't in the same direction. Like, they kind of saved me from the mood and the direction that my day was going in. And it's just kind of cool how all that happens. It's,
Yeah, it works, and it's also funny how we don't know how it works, and we couldn't have even imagined how it would have worked, and that coincides with the information that it was in our it's in our the problem is in our head in the first place. We don't know how to think or even conceive of these solutions, and that's why listening and handing our will over is so important, is what I've begun to realize. And it's just saved my life, that realizing that my thoughts are the problem has just saved my life.
yeah, definitely.
Cats for
Um,
life. Take care, fellas. Good night. Dog. Thank you, Brandon. Cats for life says, sounds familiar. ES says, yep, I'm in group chats too. We chat all day, and we're always standby to talk to somebody about anything real. That he brings up a good point. That it's real talk in the meetings. That's one thing I just cherish. It is like, there's there's small talk at the grocery store and even sometimes with family. But you go to a meeting and it's right down to nitty gritty, right out the rip. And some of the conversations in there are just, I mean, invaluable. They're just, you know what I mean? They're just awesome.
Yeah, I would agree.
The same thing with talking to another on the phone, another addict or alcoholic is like, yeah, you'll be like, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm doing all right. How was your day? That's cool. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. And then, you know, and that's really something, it's priceless. In this day and age, that's just priceless to be able to talk about life like that.
Yeah. Um, another thing I was thinking about the phones is, it's a lot easier for me to call somebody now than it is to pick up the phone when someone else is calling. Because when I want to call someone, it's on my time. It's when I feel like it. It's I have control over the situation. But someone might be calling while I'm driving down the road listening to my music, and that's not what I want to do at the moment. I don't want to pick up the phone and interrupt my own precious little time. But when I do things like that, at the end of the day, I look back and feel really good about myself, which is not a feeling I've really had in a long time. It's an unfamiliar feeling, but it feels super good and motivating and kind of makes me want to do more.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, calling it doesn't just help us, it helps others. Even when I'm flying high on cloud 9, I'm reminded, you know what? You might want to share this feeling with someone that's not feeling it. So then, like you said, that makes me feel better, about who I am as a person to call another, you know? So that's a good point. Yeah, man. I don't. Thanks so much for being willing to do this. I don't. I'm starting to do more stuff like this as far as well, just stuff like this, and I won't take up any more of your time. Is there anything you would tell an alcoholic out there or an addict that's struggling, doesn't know what to do, maybe hopeless, helpless at the end of their rope?
And I started just going to meetings because I needed to quit. I didn't want to quit. And over time, I would just hear little glimpses of my story in other people's shares. And just kind of adding up the meetings gives you all this data that might not even change you right away, but it will come back down the future, and you'll think about it. You'll be reminded of something someone said, and one day it'll click. um, they say going to meetings is for people who want to quit, not for people who need to quit, but both are true for me. I went when I needed to quit and kept failing over and over, but for some reason I just kept going back because for some reason I felt like the answers were there.
Mm.
So I would just say don't give up. You sit through a meeting, you'll probably hear at least one thing that will change your outlook. And if you can get to enough meetings, then you're going to have a collection of motivation and inspiration, and it's going to eventually make sense. Um, so I would just say don't give up. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Um, Honestly, watching podcasts and YouTube videos on sobriety, whether it's a celebrity or just a random person, that's really helped motivate me before I even quit drinking or drugging. It kind of started some gears going. It got the ball rolling in the right direction, and one day I would just decide to finally give it a go.
Right on, man. You inspire me. I know that you well, I I admire you, and they say don't leave the meetings until the miracle happens, and it
Yeah, for
seems
sure.
it seems like it's happened for you, and I'm just really happy for you, man, and it's a privilege to be your friend.
Well, I appreciate that, James. I'm glad to know you too.
And thanks for
Thanks for having
sharing.
me on.
Thanks for sharing for us, and it really helps, and I will see you soon, no doubt, my friend.
For sure. I mean, I'm glad to be a part, man. This is the type of stuff that helps me stay sober and keeps inspiring me to grow. So thanks for having me on.
Right on, man. Well, I will see you soon, and thanks again.
Sounds good, James. See ya.
All right, later, Brandon. Well, calling another alcoholic. A lot of times on this show, you may not notice it, but I may have had a bad day or I may be down. Sometimes you will notice it because I will let it be known. But when I call a friend in AA, and I have gotten so many, whether I wanted to or not, I've gotten so many connections like Brandon and others that today was an example. I don't know what hit me after my post-workout nap or whatever, but I was feeling it. And I have friends that aren't even in the program that connection is said to be the opposite of addiction. And I'm still trying to figure this one out. Maybe someone out there can explain it to me. But I'm just glad to know people like Brandon. And it is suggested that you call another addict or alcoholic in recovery when you yourself are recovering. There's 2 times you should do it: when you want to do it because you're flying high on life, and when you don't want to do it because you're down in the dumps. Somebody can get something from you, or you can get something from them. And that's how it works. And that's why I've come to learn that's why the program starts with the word we. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to getting more stuff like that on the channel. As far as interviews, I want to set up a podcast. Brandon and I have talked about it, setting it up. He seems stoked. I don't know. It makes me nervous working with people, but that's just another part of my disease of alcoholism. I've been told. What up, Michael? Good to see you. How are things? Man, I don't know what it was. Was it a lack of dopamine or something? I'm trying to wean off of SSRIs by half, and I woke up in a funk, and I ended up getting one of the Tyson's nicotine vapes were on sale, 2 for $20. How about you, Michael? Do you how's it going in your early journey? Cheese Machine, how's it going? Caller is definitely an inspiration. Thank you, Bonnie. I don't know why, but I'm so nervous around. You ever introduce different friends, different friend groups to another friend group? I don't know why it's nerve-wracking for me. Maybe you guys can help me hash it out. But I'm at a point in this channel where we're going to need to grow on this channel. We're in too deep. I've, as you might have noticed, switched back from Soberdelic James to Sober James because I'm dead smack floating in the water sober these days, floating on a pink cloud, and I'm Sober James again. And you know what? I'm proud to be so. My ego told me the name Soberdelic was cooler, and maybe you should still keep shrooms and cannabis in your life. And you know what? My ego was just my addiction talking to me. JV says, I have friends in so many different walks of life. It's sometimes fun to see how they interact. I heard a comedian say, it's tough introducing certain friend groups to different friend groups, like your church friends to your alcoholic friends. You know what I mean? Like, these guys don't drink, and then you go to your alcoholics, like, these guys go to church. I don't know. It was funny when he did it. My ego is not my amigo. Oh, dog, you're speaking that 12-step language. I like it. All righty. That was, and here's another thing. I'm starting to do things out of my comfort zone. In recovery, this seems to be the way it goes. You start pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone. And I've heard all of your biggest dreams are on the outside of your comfort zone. Cheese Machine's doing okay. The friend group thing is normal. You never truly know if both parties are going to vibe, but it seems like everything went well. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's codependence. You kind of feel protected of each party, but really in reality, that's not your responsibility. You know what I mean? Um, but Brandon is a super cool guy. One of the most, I want to say calm, I want to say down to earth, even keeled, just an inspiration to an alcoholic like me to know that he has the same problems day to day as I do, and that's the value of calling another alcoholic. And again, this was suggested to me for a long time, and I didn't listen. I thought I knew better. I didn't want to pick up the 1,000-pound phone. I just and the whole time the people suggesting were nodding their heads, and I know it's hard until finally you do it and you get what you never gotten before because you're doing something you've never done before. It's always good to stretch and grow, Bonnie says. Yes, I'm looking to stretch and grow for the sake of us all here on this channel. Get outside of my comfort zone and do something new almost daily with the channel. JV says it's a cornerstone of what you are doing. The one-on-one interaction, group panels opens up a whole new world. So I want to grow as well as far as maybe not just phone, but in person. I have some offers for some in-person interviews. I keep telling myself I got to get a new microphone, I got to get a new camera, but really I just got to learn how to do it with my the equipment I have now, which like we were talking about earlier, baby steps. They say baby steps for a reason. Brandon was talking about stepping down from your worst addiction and not necessarily keep quitting them all at once. That's a classic advice from everyone, from people that have done it before to addiction professionals and doctors. What rang a bell for me was the phrase setting yourself up for failure. And this is tricky too, and maybe even cunning, baffling, and powerful on the part of your addiction. Maybe your alcohol addiction wants you to quit all things at once, so you come running back to it. How's that for a mind F? Yeah, it is amazing, and we're gonna do it. It's beneficial for all, and when in doubt, to help another person keeps you going forward. I've noticed when just doing it for myself, there's a lot of excuses, and I will bail out. But to help another person, to help those in need that need to hear maybe Brandon's message or could relate to Brandon, is what keeps you going. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. It's the same thing like giving a gift is better than receiving. I might not buy something. I might not buy, a 65-inch TV for myself. That's not a good example because I have 3 of them. I might not buy a PS5 for myself. That's also not a good example because I have a PS5. But I might not splurge on myself, but splurging for someone else, it just brings you forward. It's got that extra little kick in it. Yep. Calling another alcoholic, calling another addict. It really helps. And thank God he's such a good sport. And most addicts and alcoholics in recovery that I talk to are absolutely willing to carry the message. And I'm happy that they are, because I never would have got it if they didn't insist, or they didn't just share their message with me or share their experience with me.
In the morning light, he shares his fight. Sober James, he's been there, done that night. Through the darkest days,
All right.
on his way.
We got to do a little Soberdelic James. I was working out today to some 80s jams, and all I could hear was this. It's got an 80s vibe, John Venturini, this song. I wonder what a lot of people told you. You were on the stream when they said if it was on Spotify, they'd be rocking it in their car. It really is a good song, but like, oh my goodness, like what? It's crazy. It's not even, not even a real person singing. It's AI. We'll just tell people that's JV singing. For all I know, it is. But yeah, if I didn't have the support of the Fellowship of AA and people that text me out of nowhere, I had a friend text me today when I was alone in my thoughts, going to get a nicotine vape for the 1,000th time, and this person texts me, "How are you doing?" And that meant a lot to me. That if that person's watching, thank you. And connection is the opposite of addiction. I'm a literal person. Hey, weather god, how's things? How's the fight going? You still fighting the good fight? How do you feel? I'll get better and better at interviewing and talking to people and simultaneously reading the comments. Maybe next time I'll have the person I'm talking to reading your comments as well. I don't want to interrupt them with the comments that are being made. If you were wondering why I'm not reading your comments, I am. I sees you. O-Dog was talking about an ex a minute ago. Googled AA slogans. I feel worse for my ex than I do myself about us breaking up. I do love her. Sorry about the breakup, ex. Weather God, today was honestly not horrible. I took your word, left things up to God, and manned up. And I've had some digestive issues and some body discomfort. That's great to hear, Weather God. For those of you catching up, potential Weather God is coming off of opiates and is anticipating a rough ride, as we always do when we come off of our sweet, sweet baby substance. But I'm proud of you, man. You're handling it like a man, and having an open mind and going into it with your shoulder down and your hopes up. It's at least a start, and I'm really happy to hear it's working out for you. Let's see, today is the third day, or tomorrow will be the third day. I'm no expert on anything, but usually substances clear up around the third or fourth day. Now, this is a man who had a grand mal seizure on the third day, so I'm, like I said, I'm no expert and I'm no doctor. To my understanding, you don't have a seizure from opiate withdrawal because it doesn't affect the central nervous system as much as benzos, alcohol, and barbiturates. But I do know it's hell. I've come off of Percocets before, and I've seen train spotting, so it's no secret that opiates are hell to come off of. Do you know the trick to never go back again to these things? That's a tough one. There is no single trick. If there was one, if this was my last breath and you asked me that question, I would look you dead in your eye and I would say, run, don't walk to a 12-step meeting. Alcoholics Anonymous works for even drug addicts like myself. Alcohol is my drug of choice. But I do know that there's a lot of alcoholics in the rooms that are cross-addicted. There's also Narcotics Anonymous, and I'm working on a short for YouTube right now. It might be out as soon as tomorrow that lists all of the 12 steps meetings. Right now in my edit, it is 1 minute and 16 seconds long, which is too long for a YouTube short, so I gotta slim it down a little. But it has everything from Cocaine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Sexual Traumas in Recovery Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Heroin Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Nicotine Anonymous, Workaholics Anonymous, Under Earners Anonymous, which is all of us these days. Which brings up the point to remember to thank my members. Thank you. Getting my 24th member the other day, and John Venturini gifting, and Sweezy becoming a member. Thank you. I am well on my way. $3 at a time to being able to pay my bills and do this for a living. I appreciate it. Anybody who gets something from this channel, consider joining. I put the link in the chat box and it'll be below this video as well. Potential Weather God, I really appreciate what you're saying about AA. Can I somehow get in or sign up for it? Unfortunately for me, which seems like you're the same way, I will do any drug, really. Just big drug is the opioids. Yeah, I'm the same way. I call it, me and my sister affectionately call it a garbage head. I'll take anything. In my opinion, addicts pretty much all are cross-addicted. We do what makes us feel good. We take the easier, softer way. We act from the reward center of our brain mostly. As far as getting into AA, it just takes the courage to walk in. There is only one requirement. There is only one requirement for Alcoholics Anonymous and any of the other 12-step meetings, is a desire to give up your addictive behavior. In Alcoholics Anonymous, a desire to stop drinking. In Narcotics Anonymous, the desire to stop using. You get the drift, but there's only one requirement, and if you meet that requirement, you are welcome. You're not only welcome, but you are the most important person in the room. And as we were just talking about on the phone with Brandon, when you do achieve some sustainable sobriety, helping the newcomer is what helps you as well. I've seen my sponsor, and he's told me, you helped me. And even if I didn't want to believe that, I saw it in his life. For an example off the top of my head, working the steps with me is also him working the steps with himself. Stuff like that. But the entrance to AA is the courage to change. That's the fee. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay. If you went there for 50 years and didn't pay a dime, it is okay. There's a basket that gets passed around that's for the coffee fees and the rent for the whatever building you're in. It's a self-sustaining organization. There are no dues or fees.
I feel good.
Alex Patience, my 25th member. Wow. Wow. Thank you, Alex. Oh man, that means a lot to me. Soberdelic Sandwiches has another member, and his name is Alex. I hope you enjoy your badges and your use of custom emojis. If I'm right about that, there's 3 tiers. The third one has access to over 100 Sober James videos over the past 5 years that are only accessible through the third tier. The first tier, you get your badges. I see you got your Soberdelic badge. You got your Sober James badge there, Alex. Congratulations. I love it. I love it. Let's give that James Brown another try.
I feel good.
Oh man. Member number 25. We're well on our way. Getting new cameras. I want to get a body cam and do some street interviews. Maybe you guys can help me come up with some ideas. I'm all about what you want to see. That'll help me reach more and more. By succeeding on the YouTube algorithm, I succeed in reaching more and more addicts and alcoholics around the world. And you guys, and have no doubt about it, are helping me do it. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Shit, let's do it again.
Wow, I feel good.
Hell yeah. It's been easy today, Weather God says. I've been distracting myself, going on long walks, listening to music. If anybody on here is also struggling, just act like you're over the 7 seas and you're a real man. Well, you are a real man, you know what I mean? Or a real woman, you know what I mean? This doesn't separate just the men from the boys. This separates, you know what I'm saying, the addicts from the recovering addicts. You can be an addict, an active addict, or a recovering addict. And there's a... Oh, there he is, Brandon. Thanks for having me, James. Sorry for hopping into the chat late. Didn't have an account. No problem, Brandon. We all appreciate you sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. And, you know, like I said, I appreciate it as well. 1,000 thanks. We'll figure out how to put together a little thing for your business. But unfortunately, there's not too many local viewers. There's viewers from around the world on here. I've been streaming at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But when I stream earlier, we get viewers from, you know, Ireland, the UK on here and stuff. I do have actually a member that I used to work with, but there's few and far between that are around the area. Potential Weather God, what is it called when you go on a 2-week everyday period of time with alcohol, but then stop and not want it for 2 weeks and then obsess for it again? That's how I am always with alcohol. I think officially they call that a binge drinker, Weather God. But I'm like that too. You can put it down, you can pick it up. The fact is, though, for the alcoholic, it will always come back around, and it always gets worse, never better. Those 2 weeks where you don't think about it will turn into 1 week eventually, and then a day. And this is my experience, and the experience I've heard from others as well. But you're doing good, Weather God. I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're doing the damn thing. Brandon, Weather God's coming off of opiates. I think this is his 3rd day. And like I said, Weather God, go to a meeting. That's what's been told to me. And I've, you know, there were times where I was like, what are you talking about? Go to a meeting. I'm talking about not being able to pay my bills. I'm talking about, my dog's not being able to make it to the vet because I don't have any money. And they're just like, go to a meeting, brother. Go to a meeting. And when I finally listened, I finally found out what they were talking about. It isn't my problems, it's my perception of my external problems that's bothering me. And when I put my sobriety first and go to AA meetings regularly, it all falls into place, and your problems begin to fall into place too, with a little patience and a lot of support from people like Brandon and people like on this chat. You can do it. I have no doubt. I've seen it done. Brandon says some alcoholics only drink on the weekends. Everyone is unique. If you can't go without it, it has power over you that keeps you imprisoned in the endless cycle and keeps you from living fully. I would agree with that. And it's also progressive. I personally, I have family that it hasn't hit them until the consequences are now overbearing in their 50s. And, for me, it started when I was 14. It doesn't always start. People are unique, as well as their disease is it's like a spectrum. There's one thing in common that defines an alcoholic, and that is the phenomenon of craving when you take alcohol into your body. And then also, just like you said, Weather God, the mental obsession. The mental obsession takes us to the first drink, and the first drink takes us to oblivion. In other words, there you go. Motherfucking Jack Nicholson said it. Not everyone will support your recovery, but not everyone matters. Thank you, Claudia, for subscribing. Just one thing I have to stop is nicotine. God, it's such a stupid habit. I'm going to listen to you, and I will go to a meeting. I just have anxiety, and what if I start laughing for no reason? That was my problem in Navy boot camp. My biggest problem was I was laughing at attention, and I just got so beat up for it by the drill sergeant or whatever. But laughter is common in the meetings. You'll be surprised. Your addiction, your preconcepts, your image of meetings that you have in your brain, you'll find out that it isn't really how it is. Trust me when I say you go to meetings. Addicts, alcoholics belong in 12-step meetings, if you ask this alcoholic, and I've found out the hard way. At the meetings, Brandon says, if you share your struggles, so many people will help out with advice on what worked for them. I go to meetings to hear from everyone else. That's what has helped me in my sobriety. You can just go and listen. Brandon's got a point, Weather God. You can go and listen. It's totally anonymous. You don't have to introduce yourself. Everything is more or less voluntary. The daily reflection the other day was, it might be today actually. I forgot to read it today, but I'll read it here in a second. Well, let me read it right now, because this might be the one I'm talking about. It's not a program of don'ts. It's a program of do's. Not doo-doos, but do's. D-O-S. Let me read the daily reflection. Alcoholics Anonymous has a daily reflection every day. It was yesterday, I think, where he said, there's not one single don't in the 12 steps. It gives you the freedom. Today is May 28th. Today's daily reflection of Alcoholics Anonymous reads like this: Equal rights, May 28th. At one time or another, most AA groups go on rule-making benders. After a time, fear and intolerance subside, and we realize we do not wish to deny anyone his chance to recover from alcoholism. We wish to be just as inclusive as we can be, never exclusive. Today's daily reflection refers to the tradition of how it developed. Page 10, 11, and 12. And says, AA's daily reflection will read something out of the literature, which I just did, and then this next part is a random anonymous alcoholics experience. And it reads like this: AA offered me complete freedom and accepted me into the fellowship for myself. Membership did not depend upon conformity, financial success, or education, and I am so grateful for that. I often ask myself if I extend the same equality to others or if I deny them the freedom to be different. Today I try to replace my fear and intolerance with faith, patience, love, and acceptance. I can bring these strengths to my AA group, my home, and my office. I make an effort to bring my positive attitude everywhere I go. I have neither the right nor the responsibility to judge others. Depending on my attitude, I can view newcomers to AA, family members, and friends as menaces or as teachers. When I think of some of my past judgments, it is clear how my self-righteousness caused me spiritual harm. That, to me, answers your question, Weather God. So what if you laugh? The people of AA, there is a code in AA, and it is love and tolerance is our code. I know this because it's one of my favorite parts. When someone says something questionable, I may snicker to myself, or I used to, until I started noticing the old timers were just sitting there with their eyes closed, nodding their heads, and they'll say something like, "Keep coming back." And that's that. So to answer your question, what if you laugh? What if you say something stupid? Love and tolerance is our code, and it is sacred. I mean, it's official. People in AA are loving and tolerant. And if they're not, they will get, just like any other social group, they'll get rubbed the wrong way, if you will. Because we take them out back and we beat them. I'm just kidding. We love and tolerate them as well, but somebody's going to talk to them. It's hard to speak for AA because it's such a power greater than myself. I hope I can do a good job in representing it. But I'm glad to hear you're going to go to a meeting, Weather God. It is the things to do. On my last breath, if I were dying and an addict asked me, "What do I do? I'm so hopeless, I'm so helpless." On my very last breath, I would say, read the big book, go to meetings, get a sponsor, help others. And then I'd be like, and I might have a little more, and I'd be like, trust in God, clean house, help others. If it was my last breath, you know what I mean? I might put it on my tombstone. Trust in God, clean house, help others. And Weather God, you said trusting in God has helped you through this time you need. Trust in God when you walk into that meeting. And here's what's been helping me. If I don't want to go, and I say how uncomfortable I'm going to be, and what if I say the wrong thing, and what if I embarrass myself, I say, you know what? Forget all that. What if someone at the meeting needs me? What if your experience that you're going through right now, Weather God, is going to help another person live, and that helps their family and their brother or sister doesn't end their life because of one meeting that you walked into. I think about that kind of stuff happens, and that's what you learn to think of, and thus your fear of people leaves you. You're no longer walking into rooms thinking about yourself. I can walk anywhere with God right now, and anywhere with the mission of helping others, and I don't really care if I make a fool out of myself. I was there for the right reason, and you're going to be there for the right reason. You're sick and tired of being sick and tired, just like everyone in the room you're going to walk into. I would recommend downloading the meeting guide app. Whether God and anybody else that is curious about 12-step meetings near you, the meeting guide app I think is AA, but I'm sure there's one for each group. But the meeting guide app, and if you don't like downloading apps, just go to aa.org. I'll put a clickable link right here, and all you got to do, whether God or anybody else looking for a meeting, is put in your zip code. Do you know what I mean, man? If you ask for help, Brandon says, somebody there will be able to help you with the obsession. It does go away if you work the program. And I've even found that a lot of people say work the program. I've found that all you have to do is take the gift. And the gift is the suggestions and the experience of another alcoholic that has had a spiritual awakening from working the 12 steps. They call them working the 12 steps. I kind of call them unwrapping them like they're gifts. Like all you got to do is like take the gift. And the alcoholic is such a way that we're stubborn and, we think we know. That's our main problem. We think we know something. I think I know what that meeting's going to be like. I think I know that I don't belong there. I think I know they're going to make fun of me. I think I know I need a drink. I think I know I'm a Navy veteran and I have the right to drink alcohol. I think I know all these things. I think I know why God doesn't exist. The best thing that's happened to me, and I am at peace and I know serenity these days, the thing that happened to me was the question, what do I know? Who am I to say there is no God? And the question I would ask myself if I ever started doubting going to meetings again, who am I to doubt 100-year-old organization that gets alcoholics sober, drunk, hopeless people like me, sober, happy, joyous, and free? Who am I to doubt that? I have no argument that stands up against 100-year-old program like that. So that's what the program's taught me is, what do I know? What I know has been getting me drunk, in jail, in institutions, and in hospitals, and damn near death. That's what I know. And what AA knows is a way to emotional sobriety, happiness, joyousness, and freedom. The desire to drink is not anywhere near me these days. I'm on to better things like how am I ever going to give up the temptation to not buy a Mike Tyson nicotine vape on sale. It does the same to me, Weather God, and you just got a taste. Yo, I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. It frees me from myself. And Brandon was talking about it earlier. How does helping another alcoholic help me? It frees me from myself, and this is a disease of self. I've never taken a drug, I've never taken a drink for another person. ever in my life, and I've taken thousands. When I ask God's will for me, never once is he going to say, you might as well go to the liquor store. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any work to do today. Never once is God's will going to be drink. And when you're helping another alcoholic, you're out of your head, and it's freedom. And that you just got a taste of what the program has to offer. Yeah, bro. As you know what I mean? Nicotine will take what it takes. And you know what? Maybe it's not in the cards for me to quit. I woke up in a weird mood to get a nicotine thing and still have the wherewithal to get the sale instead of spending all my money. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. Now, when I get a headache from these things, I'm going to be talking different about it. But, smoke all the nicotine in the world, brother. You're off of opiates, and you're almost on your 3rd day. Congratulations and good on you. And way to talk to God, and way to trust in God, and way to ask for help. That shit ain't easy. That's courageous. So doing it without nicotine would be setting yourself up for failure. And I am suspecting that our addiction to opiates and alcohol wants us to try to give up nicotine, because it'll be setting ourselves up for failure. It's that cunning and that crafty and that baffling and powerful. You know what I mean? I've given up trying to figure it out, but you know, with God's help, I see what it's up to. I'm real happy for you, Weather God. I hope you're here tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every night, addiction recovery and everything in between here on the Sober James channel. If you like what you've gotten here tonight, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And thank you all for being here. Brandon, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And Weather God, you have helped me with your strength and hope and soon to be experience. If I didn't have nicotine, he says, I'd probably be in better health, but if it stops me from doing absolutely anything, drink mouthwash, for crying out loud, I'll smoke. Smoke it to your heart's content. And if you run out, go get another one. You know what I mean? Hey, Kelly. It's good to see you, Kelly. And all of y'all chilling in the background. I see 14 of you here. I hope this helped you out. I know you've helped me out. And I'll see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, keep it clean, keep it real, keep doing the damn thing. Peace.